Let's start. Okay, let's begin. Welcome to another episode of Tea with Salesians. Let's raise up our glasses and let's all together say cheers. My dear friends, I've got a little story for you. I've got a question and I want the answer to this question. Okay, just listen to the story, listen to this anecdote. Sunil Kapoor is a small town investor who has recently purchased a house in his village. Now it's a very big villa and it has come along with its own teak plantation and farmland that surrounds it. But as a result of the coronavirus, what has happened is that he has incurred a lot of losses. What should he do to raise money? Now a local wood merchant wants to purchase his teak plantation and Sunil is getting a very good price for the teak plantation. Should he sell off part of the property in order to sustain his business? Is it a sustainable investment? Okay, so I want you to answer this question. Marina, what do you think?
I was typing. I think he should wait and make business out of it because he has something with it already.
Yeah, he should wait and make business out of it. Even Satish is saying the same thing. He should wait. He should not go for that teak, that wood merchant. That fellow is fleecing him. The option is that he cuts the trees and he develops his own life. So, brother Akidin, what do you think? Put your mic on. Veronica, you're next, okay? Mike, put your mic on, yes.
I couldn't get the question which you asked for that because we were a little bit late.
Yeah, I expected that answer. That's why I put it in the chat. Look in the chat, read in the chat. Okay, Valencia, what do you think? Come on, Valencia, put your mic on. And what do you think about it? Is it a sustainable venture? And after Valencia, we have last, I'm going to ask Crystal. Because Crystal has come right in the middle of my screen. Crystal D'Souza, get ready with your answer, okay?
Yeah, I'm already ready.
Okay, tell me.
Let Valencia go first, then I will do.
Valencia, you go first.
I agree with what Marina said. He should wait and make something out of it by himself.
Okay, but he has no option. He has lost all his investment. Remember, he's an investment banker. He has lost all his money because of the coronavirus. Poor fellow. Who else? Crystal, now Valencia has spoken. Now you have to speak. Come on.
Since he has lost all his investment into the banking thing, I guess he should wait and see what can be done further and then take a chance to do anything that he can.
The issues like these are very complex and we are faced with these situations almost on a regular basis. You must have realized that sustainability is the last question over there, and it's going to be our topic for today. What is sustainability? In very simple words, sustainability means meeting with our needs and keeping in mind that all others have to also get their needs, have to get their share. And so they say that the three basic things for sustainability that we need to take into consideration are first people, second one is the planet, the Earth's resources, and the third one is profit or money. So having said that as a basic introduction for today's topic on sustainability, I ask Father Leon to introduce the speakers for today. Father Leon Cruz.
Yeah. So today, as we have the theme on sustainability, the first talk today is titled as Sustainability from a DoCat Perspective. Just as we have the UCAT, Catechesis for the Youth, there is something called as DoCat. And if you are not heard about it or read about it, today is a chance for all of us to hear what DoCat says about sustainability. So we have a special speaker today. We have with us Shauna Nemesia Ribello. She is part of the Bombay Archdiocese Office for Environment's core group. And currently she's also coordinating the certificate course for Eco Ambassadors. She's also associated with the CCBI Commission for Ecology. She has a postgraduate degree in environmental science, and she has been doing a lot of projects and research related to sustainability and many other things. Shauna?
Yes, am I audible?
Yes, Shauna.
Am I audible? Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. Father Leon, can I start?
Yes, Shauna.
All right, so Father, good evening. Father Leon has made me seem a lot grander than I am in that introduction. However, it is my honor to be here among all of you, and I'm sure you are change makers, trailblazers, and rising stars. That's why I truly hope you find the next 10 minutes insightful. Sustainability from a DoCat perspective. DoCat being a recent primer on Catholic social teaching, while sustainability, as we just heard, is people, planets, profit. Environmental sustainability more particularly deals with the judicious use of natural resources and maintaining ecological balance. As another term of care for creation or stewardship, sustainability is one of the 7 principles of Catholic social teaching. The other being human dignity, common good, solidarity, subsidiarity, participation, and a preferential option for the poor. Now, when sustainability comes up, I get a lot of mixed reactions. Some people start rolling their eyes and they go, here we go again with pollution and whatnot. There are other issues to think about. Okay, we just thought about someone with the tea plantation, right? Should I make a profit? Should I not? Others say, but what do I do? Government and industry has all the power. Rarely there are zealous folks, the kind of people who rebel during pandemics because there are too many humans on earth anyway. Sometimes people are plain confused and just don't get the link between our faith and caring for creation. Which category are we in? No answer? Okay. Let's delve deeper and understand that even from a faith perspective, sustainability is vital to our being, our existence, and our redemption. Okay? Even our redemption. The very first directive received from God is of environmental stewardship. When the first human was entrusted with working and keeping the Garden of Eden. This is Genesis 2:15. Don't believe me, believe the Bible. So as custodians, we have been placed among all creation, but we weren't just placed there by accident. The earth, its creatures, its rhythms, its cycles and interconnections have been harmonized over 4.3 billion odd years. Take a moment to contemplate how much care the divine has put into ensuring that we can breathe pure air, partake of nutritious food, and drink clean water. Is this also not one of the ways God loves us? Hearken to John 13:34, where God commands us, love one another as I have loved you. So maintaining ecological balance and our relationship with the earth is also a fulfillment of this command. But we all know how the narrative unfolds. No, I like to call it relationship issues. We have been having relationship issues with the earth. We, being the dominant partner, have felt stifled by environmental limits. We feel we are just not compatible. So where have we ended up? We have turned abusers in this relationship. Let's not mince words. We have turned abusers. because we think nothing of clearing vast tracts of forests, dumping anything and everything into the ocean, exterminating biodiversity. We mine rapidly, we build rapidly, we waste gratuitously. We tinker around with crop genes. We do this in the name of progress. Actions have not spared any aspect of the planet, and now we face an existential crisis. I'm bringing in the Ducat perspective now. Our circumstances are uncomfortable, probing, and difficult because where is our human dignity when we are breathing in toxic air that impairs lung function? Where is our human dignity, and what right of life are we talking of when we don't know whether we are consuming food or chemicals? Where is our human dignity when we are all quenching our thirst with water laden with micropollutants and Lord knows what else, and that have serious health implications? Let us ask ourselves, is there any common good on a polluted planet when our rivers are spewing foam, oceans churning up oil and garbage, soil eroding, extreme weather? New diseases are emerging as we further unravel ecological balance. How then can we reach out to those in need? What option can we give to the poor when we can't assure them, neither them nor ourselves, a livable world? We are walling ourselves and arming ourselves with air purifiers, water filters, and we have turned organic food into a farce of elitism. Existential crisis. Let's move. Where is our solidarity and subsidiarity when we persist in undermining our interconnectedness? We tend to be nonchalant and adopt a dangerous attitude of indifference. And what dignity of labor can we hope to achieve when we are killing artisanal lifestyles, when we are killing subsistence lifestyles? We are hurtling into mechanization, digitalization, and automation on a planet we are systematically killing. Someone has said that there are no jobs on a dead planet. Very true. A lot of good will the economy do to us then. I hope it's painfully clear that we have to integrate sustainability with our faith. Our hope and trust are in the Lord, yes, and undoubtedly so. But we have to humble ourselves and get back together with the earth. Resolve the relationship issues we have been having. Simply calls for us to restore ruptures instead of being destroyers. And you know why? Revelation 11:18 tells us the second coming of Christ is a time for destroying the destroyers of earth. So only by caring for creation can we live and love our faith the way we are meant to. This is it in a nutshell. The barest bones of why faith should be concerned with sustainability. Let's viscerally understand that the road to salvation has caring for creation as a necessary paving. By no means, however, is this the complete issue. I'm choosing to flag 3 more concerns related to sustainability and the common good, just 3 more out of the many we can take up. Consumerist lifestyles, blind faith in technology, and privatization of natural resources as a consequence of the powerful nexus between business and politics. The running thread between all these is ultimately we tend to focus on products instead of people. Consumerist lifestyles, we get swept away with buy, use, throw, funda. In the infinite wisdom of God, we received an antidote to this 2000 years ago. The Sermon on the Mount, concluding in particular, that's Matthew 5:25 to 33, or it's paralleled in Luke 12:22 to 31. Oh, we have such little faith in divine providence. Technology, Pope Francis tells us in Laudato Si that technology is not neutral. Please look up the chapter on the human roots of the ecological crisis. We also have to examine our attitudes. When I was learning about water treatment and all the horrors we have in our drinking water, I told my cousin we have to save water. Back came the reply, 70% of the earth is water. Why are you telling me to save? Look at our attitudes. We have pushed aside equity and access. We don't realize that desalination technology is still prohibitively expensive today. Which brings me to privatization of natural resources and the business political nexus. They put a price on oxygen, on water, on food, on land. Yet, how assured are we of their quality or adequacy? We aspire to the first world lifestyle. But do we know that their MNCs pass to us products laden with endocrine disruptors that are banned in their country of origin but are freely sold in here? Rooted models of development leads to ever-widening inequalities. With great power comes great responsibility. We know that, right? But what can we do to remind those in power of their responsibility when even participation in small citizen movements has students ending up and landing up in jail on the eve of their exams, no less? Sustainability offers a holistic path. The running thread between these three concerns that I have flagged is that we tend to focus on products instead of people. When we weave in sustainability into these concerns, we look at the bigger picture. We distinguish between wants and needs. We look for a more holistic and inclusive development. We reimagine welfare. We understand technological pitfalls. We put equity and access on the table. We hold those in power accountable. And those in power realize that there is only so much their ivory towers that block them from our interconnected world can do. We have been re-examining a lot of things during the pandemic, and we have come to value interconnectedness to some degree. Let's channelize and embrace the earth. This is how we will put our good deeds into faith. Thank you. I hope I finished in 10 minutes.
Yes, Shauna, thank you very much. You have synthesized so many pages of DoCAT very nicely. You had synthesized for us. Thank you very much. Next, we have some practical tips. Next, we have some practical tips on how to live a sustainable life. So today we have with us Chandan Mulherkar. Chandan has been working in the field of environmental education for more than 5 years with students of all ages, and presently offers consultation for ecological landscape design and corporate training. Chandan?
Hello everyone. Hello Father Leon. Am I audible? Sorry, come again. Can you all see me? Can you hear me?
No, we can't see you.
Audible but not visible.
Yeah, you're audible but not visible.
Oh.
Chandan, unmute yourself. Yeah, no problem. If you're not able to start the video, you can continue.
Yeah. Actually, I'm not at home, so the reception here is a little weak. So
yeah, you can continue. Yeah.
If it's okay,
your audio is breaking.
Hello.
Yeah, now it's better.
Father Leon.
Yeah.
Should I continue?
Yeah, continue. Yeah.
And for inviting me as well. One, I'll just switch off the video now. Okay, in the talk she gave, I just want to underline. So a few things she said before getting into my material. You know, Shana said she used the word abuse the earth,
And then
and
I can't hear you
it's
clearly.
very
Your internet
important
not
to acknowledge
your voice
that.
breaking.
So, because only then will we take the necessary action. Talks gave. I just want to underline this is a topic of big debate, but it's very important to understand that as an engineer, I'm saying that it's literal. So we. I'm so sorry. I'll just. Is this better now? Hello. Is this
Yeah,
better?
yeah, better.
Yes, yes.
Hello.
Yes, this is better.
Hello, Father Leon. Are you
Yeah,
there?
it's better now.
Okay. So I'll just jump. Hello. Straight into the material. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. Hello, Father Leon.
Yeah, continue.
Okay.
Continue.
So yeah, I'll just share with you guys 5 points. Okay, that all do to start off a journey towards sustainability. So first point itself is this, that there is so much misinformation on this topic that is out there. Now everyone wants to live a sustainable life, to be eco-friendly, want to harm things, animals and plants and nature, but we don't know how. Okay, and there are brands telling you buy my product friendly. There are 100 environmentalists telling you 100 different things. Become vegan. Someone is telling you don't use plastic. So the first thing I will say is that in this age of misinformation, about it is take the time, read up, talk to more people. It is itself a very abused word, sustainability, right? So, okay, in case if there is some problem in the audio, please tell me on the chat, okay? So I'll readjust. Okay. The first thing, do your own study and out what it actually means, okay? If a certain product is actually safe or not, before continuing. Now, the second point. The second point is, okay, you'll say, okay, Chandan, I'll study that is. Then what do I do? That is the first thing I can do. Start home, start myself, okay? So I would say start with your body. Okay. What does that mean? What does that mean? Start with your. We all have basic necessities. There is food, shelter, clothes that we need to buy. We need to keep our bodies clean, right? So and we buy things from outside to do all of these things. So the first thing we can do is start looking at alternatives to these products which are not toxic. Now, I'll give you an example. I have this, it's Colgate toothpaste. It has a chemical called triclosan. Now, if I tell you that this triclosan is, it's you use that and water is going in some river, poisoning some fish. Okay, what will you say? And I'll say that okay, because of that effect, that fish is getting poisoned, you should change it. Fine. No, because you don't have anything to do with that fish. You will say, okay, I want to be kind to the river and to the fish there, but I can't take all that effort of changing my toothpaste and all that just to be some fish that I don't. That is, I say now, if I paste same chemical triclosan, and I tell you that it is an endocrine disruptor that is going to harm it disrupt your hormones, okay, in your own body. Then what will you do? Then you will, okay. So that is why she main principles here is that we can only fight for what we love, and we can only love what is fight for nature. So you have to start with your own body, your own family, right? So that's the second point. Now, what you any toothpaste, okay? You can start looking at alternatives which are something you can make. Mix yourself. I'm sorry, I can't show you video. Otherwise, I would show you this powder that I have made, and I've started to very easy. You'll get 100 recipes online. Okay, you can do that. Is your shampoo? It's very easy to buy and all of that. Okay. Now, why am I saying use that instead of some eco-friendly shampoo? There are so many brands. The Anjali is coming with some Ayurvedic toothpaste and all of those things. Is that you don't know what they're putting. They are saying, okay, it is a local brand, but actually the chemicals are all the same. Okay, so don't trust brands. If you can make your thing, that's the best. Okay, so do that. That's whatever things you use for your hygiene and health of your own body. Try to make it on your own. Now, second thing, after your body, let's move out from there. Okay, so going out, what is the next thing? Your family, your home, your house. Okay, clean your house. You're probably using something like this. This is a floor cleaner. It has many things like sodium laureth, sulfate, and all those chemicals in it. Very bad for health and for the ecology. Okay, wherever it will go in the river, it's bad, or it's bad for your body as well. Okay, so the third thing is whatever home cleaners you're using, you can make a thing called as bioenzyme. Now, bioenzyme is something you can fruit, pineapple, and some jaggery and some water. It's very simple. It's again, you can get the recipe online, or I can share something with you. Once you make that, you can clean your floors. You can clean your whole house with it, except marble. But that is one way to just remove all of these toxic chemicals that are harming the environment and your body from your life. Okay, that's the third thing. Fourth thing, start making a kitchen garden. Okay, now you don't have to go out and buy some plants and put them in some pots in your house. Just go to your kitchen. You probably already have a few potted plants in your window or something. Go to the kitchen, get a piece of ginger, get a clove of garlic, get an onion, get a potato. Just put it in the soil. Okay, it will start growing. It will start growing. Now, what this will do is, can you grow all of your food at home? No, absolutely not. Okay, you can't grow rice and grains and stuff like that. But what it will do is, it first of all, it will help you respect the farmer who is growing your food. Okay, how much effort it takes, how low it is, and how meticulously go about doing it. It is like caring for a pet. Okay, so, and obviously there is the direct benefit. If you grow garlic, for example, it will have these nice little green shoots. You can clip those shoots and you can add it to your food. That's not it'll give you the same flavor. Uses you can make. Plus, if you have a window garden, then birds all visiting, it'll be like get nature closer to you. Okay, it's not solving some major crisis out there, but it is getting you in connection. Okay, because that's the main thing that is missing. What has happened is, why do we need an environmental movement? Because that connection between man and that which sustains man is broken. And when that connection is broken, the companies come and insert a transaction in between that. Okay, so first thing you have to do is to re-establish that connection. That is why we are doing all of this, right? So fourth thing is to have a kitchen garden. Fifth, and probably the most important, simplest thing you can do is that food. Okay, everything connects with food. Okay, so again, there are so many brands telling you, you should eat olive oil, or you should eat this quinoa, which is a grain that is grown in certain African countries. So try to find out your traditional recipes, your old recipes. Talk to your grandmother. If I could just combine all of my points here into one, I would say talk to your grandmother. If you're lucky enough to have a grandmother you can communicate with, right? If that is not the case, then read books, talk to other old people, find out these recipes. There is a lot of traditional knowledge that is good for us and good for the earth, because remember, what is good for your body, what is healthy to your body, is also healthy for the ecosystem from where it comes and where it goes. Okay, just give you a small example. Olive oil. Now olive oil is coming from where? It's coming from Spain. Olives are grown in Spain. Do I have any ancestors in Spain? No. Okay. My body is accustomed to this climate and this soil and these animals and plants. All my ancestry and my own body, right? So we have to find out, where do I come from? Okay, from the coastal region of India. So what is the oil that is used there? Coconut oil. So like that, if you take a simple approach, you will find your old traditional foods which are healthy for you and easy to grow in that climate. So they help both of those things stay healthy. Okay, that is, and the same thing goes for things like these quinoa and all of these trends. Okay, this is also to say that don't follow any trends. Do your own research. Okay, so I'm going to just recap on all the 5 points. Point 1: there is a lot of misinformation to. So do your own study. Okay, don't follow any trends. Point number 2: start with your body. Try to create a mix and make your own personal hygiene products, even if it's toothpaste or shampoo. Third is then extend that to your home. Make your own floor cleaners. Okay, and there are 100 different ideas of what else you can make. Then point number 4: start a kitchen garden. Okay, simplest thing. Don't buy anything from outside, but start a kitchen garden from your kitchen. Use your grains, use your ginger and onion and sweet potatoes. Anything you can just put in the ground and it'll grow. And the 5th one is try to find your traditional, seasonal, local food. So that's it. I have not taken too much time, and thank you all for listening.
Yeah, Chandan, thank you very much. Unfortunately, we couldn't see you, but later on your audio was clear. Thanks a lot. Now we'll be having some interesting group discussion. So please check your WhatsApp message and there'll be a new link. So click the new link and join the group discussion.